Buhar wins if either Sajith or AKD wins. Anurella on the rise. SJB deploys young team to attack AKD with Lucky to foot the bill. Share market too, affected by AKD's popularity. JVP's economist Suri, humbled at business meeting. Country back to Ranil after 6 months, he refuses a temporary job again. Sajith, a joker in the public eye. People like him for picking up children in his arms. Lazy elephants burden the SLPP lot with all the work. Mahinda still remains very much in their hearts. Namal hands over manifesto to his father. Dulles is very busy to be Sajith's PM. Niroshan leaves Vasu for Sajith. Why Range was at odds with Ranil. His deal with Lucky revealed, he offers to resign. Thalatha refuses positions, wants to prevent yet another Gota.
The leader, දේශයට මග කියන ප්‍රවෘත්ති පෙළගැස්ම.
Buhar wins if either Sajith or AKD wins. With just 3 weeks to go for the presidential polls, the Anurella is on the rise. Critics say this wave of support for NPP candidate AKD is having a considerable influence on floating votes. It is only human to have a desire to be part of the victory. So the algorithm nowadays is Anurella, to which they inevitably get attracted. So some retired political VIPs becoming alarmed are having nightly talks on how to unite Ranil and Sajith against AKD. While having a drink of their choice, they say the JVP should not be allowed to gain power. But the message to them from Sajith is that he will have nothing whatsoever to do with Ranil. Therefore, some are planning to flee the country before the election takes place. In the meantime, a group of youths in the SJB has entered the game under the leadership of a party leader who sided with Sajith very recently. They met some days ago at a place in Bataramula. That party leader said he joined Sajith instead of Ranil because he had hesitated to attack the JVP. Ranil, Wajira and Ravi are against Sajith only. If the JVP becomes popular like this, everybody will be finished. So, we will have to do something very quickly, he warned. They had lengthy talks on how to counter AKD. A specialist doctor present said they should always refer to AKD as Minister Anura because they talk as if they had nothing to do with the past 70 years. Handuneti and Lalkantha too should be called likewise, he said. The party leader upped their morale by saying that he asked both Sajith and Lucky to hand them over the project to attack the JVP. Marikar and Senasinghe don't understand how to do it. Don't worry about the money. Lucky promised to take care of that, he assured. They dispersed after agreeing to launch a major propaganda operation very soon to create an AKD phobia in society, that the country would be ruined if he gains power. In the meantime, Ranil, too, is not left behind in the campaign against AKD. A young minister has been tasked with unleashing an all-out attack against him in the final 2 weeks. An experienced presidential director-general has been entrusted with the campaign to say that the country, safe for the moment due to Ranil's leadership and people's commitment, will be over if AKD wins. Accepting it, that personality met a media team at a place owned by him and gave them a long explanation on how it should be done. He said the plight in Bangladesh and economic calamities in Libya and the Maldives should be highlighted. He gave them a brief on each country. Libya's central bank governor, other bankers flee to avoid militias. Militias are threatening and terrifying bank staff. Militias are sometimes abducting their children and relatives to force them to go to work. People should be made to fear that the same thing will happen here if AKD comes to power, he told them. Maldives heading towards crisis as usable dollar reserves run out. Credit rating agencies such as Fitch and Moody's likely to downgrade Maldives' credit ranking soon. The root cause of the current financial crisis was relying on expected revenues. The same thing would happen to us if not for Ranil, he said, adding that another campaign should target businessmen during the remaining weeks. By the way, the Colombo share market is on the decline. Harsha is already blaming it on AKD. Certain investors are alarmed by 8 days of continuous downturns. Even individual stockholders are in quite a worry. According to the SJB, certain big-shot businessmen are frightened out of their wits that AKD will win the election. The most influential factor in that regard is the opinion surveys that predict he will be the winner. The IHP's latest one, out on the 29th, says a majority of topmost businessmen want AKD to come to power. As a result, they have started inquiring into what his election manifesto says about the economy. Certain social media activists are concerned by unnecessary problems being created by some in the JVP and the NPP. One instance is Dr. Nalinda's open attack on central bank governor Nanda Lal, who said the country would revert back to decline if IMF conditions were violated. Nanda Lal, too, hails from a political family. His father's elder brother, Jinadasa Wirasinghe, the then Tangali MP, was shot dead hours after the Lanka Pact of 1987 was signed. Also, the NPP's economic expert, Dr. Harshana Suryaparuma, strongly criticised Finance Secretary Mahinda Siriwardena during a public event. Siriwardena listened to him from the front row but didn't react. Seated near him were John Keel's chairman Krishan Balendra. It is said most of the top businessmen present didn't like Suryaparuma's speech. When SJB's Harsha continued to question Suryaparuma, some in the audience clapped for him. So, Harsha scored some points on the occasion. Ranil was told about the incident by a Colombo businessman. When Ranil inquired who that fellow was, he was given a detailed description about Suryaparuma. Ranil was told that Suryaparuma is a director of the business chain owned by one Buhar. Sajith's policy advisor Rafi too is a director there. A man in tie and coat then remarked that Buhar wins if either Sajith or AKD wins, which sent all present to big laughter. But neither inquires into that. What we saw in recent times was accepting anyone coming in their way with open arms and offering them with some position or the other. Country back to Ranil after 6 months, he refuses a temporary job again. The busiest candidate at present is none other than Ranil. While campaigning across the country, he has to run the government too. Added to his worries are range bandara-type incidents at Sirikotha. He reserves Mondays for affairs of the state. Cabinet and the Security Council meetings and receiving special guests in Colombo happen on that day as well. Last Monday, he was at the Flower Road election office inspecting lists of rallies and speakers and media aspects of the campaign. He gave instructions that there should be more meetings with the people at their homes at Grama Niladari division level. After meeting his ministers in the afternoon, he had a discussion with his economic affairs advisor Dr. Samaratunga and Saman Athaudaheti, who writes his speeches, about his policy manifesto. On the following day, he met the Security Council and the Finance Ministry hierarchy too. Ranil is also busy welcoming newcomers, both as individuals and groups, who are extending him support on a daily basis. Amid all these, Prasanna, Lanza, Nimal Siripala and Anura Yapa went and saw him at his Paget Road place to discuss the campaign. Lanza claimed Sajith has become a joker in the eyes of the public, who don't take him seriously anymore. The fight is now on with AKD, he said. Siripala said that if either of them wins, they can continue for 7 months at most and will then flee like Gota did. Ranil lost his cool when one said he will have to take over again then. This is the last time. I cannot do it temporarily. I accepted it because the Rajapaksas couldn't do it. I am asking for the last opportunity to do what remains to be done for the country, he said. Another said people get easily deceived when Sajith picks up children in his arms. Ranil replied that he is here to run the state, not to do the job of a nanny. My job is to make a better future for the children. Running the state is missed when children are picked up and pictures are taken. I did my duty. I will remain if the people like it, or else I will go home, he said. They promised to do theirs and bring victory for him. Anyhow, the UNP is not yet doing the canvassing part well. That party too waits like Sajith did some time ago until they are served it on a platter. The SLPP set does all the work for Ranil. Even though he pointed that out several times, they continue to be lazy elephants. Mahinda still remains very much in their hearts. Mahinda still seems to be in the hearts of the SLPP lot now with Ranil. That comes out occasionally without their knowing it. Rajika did just that when she addressed the Mawanella rally held in Ranil's support. She said it is a question of supporting a candidate who doesn't know the sorrows and tears of the people, or Mahinda Rajapaksa, who knows the value of the sorrows and tears of the people, when she realised she said it wrong. So, she corrected herself and repeated Ranil's name several times. To those who were on stage, she excused herself by saying old habits die hard, but when she started getting calls making inquiries, she had to switch it off. On Friday morning, Namal went to see his father at the Wijayarama Mawatha place. Top SLPP officials, like General Secretary Karyawasam and Chairman Utharawala Damaratana Thera, were already there. Mahinda, too, was prepared for the occasion, but most knew nothing of what was going to happen. At an auspicious time, Namal took out his policy manifesto and handed it over to the leader of the party. Copies were given to the chairman and other officials too. Karyawasam said it was a token release of the manifesto at an auspicious time. It will be made public on the 2nd at Ratnadeepa at the ITC, in front of Gala Face. After having tea, they departed in their respective ways. Last week, Namal attended rallies in Kurunegala. Events were organised by Johnny and XLG members. Johnny said they organised the rallies at short notice after Namal decided to contest at the last moment. UK Sumith said Namal was getting a big welcome at grassroots level. Samanpriya said many who decided to abstain have now decided to vote for him. Johnny said house-to-house campaigning is now underway, while Basil gave instructions to open offices at all the 160 electorates very soon. Critics say Namal is getting very valuable experience the hard way. Dulles is very busy to be Sajith's PM. Sajith arrived at his Tangala rally with a lean, tall youth. He was introduced as ex-MP and ex-party leader Niroshan Premaratne. Sajith said he had forgone the chairmanship of an oldest party to strengthen his hands. One noted that he polled 94,000 votes from Matara. Sajith appreciated him, saying he had left his position officially and has his good name intact. It was Dulles who brokered Niroshan's union with Sajith. Before that, Matara MP Karunadasa too joined the SJB courtesy of him. Dulles is scoring heavily with his eyes on the premiership. But Lucky has lost ground after trying to woo the ex-General Secretary of the UNP. Range Bandara was the talk of the town recently. He had been accused by the party of disciplinary violations and of certain deals. On Thursday night, it was said the leader has decided to sack him, with newspapers carrying it on the following day. Some questioned the party's silence over it. Furthermore, Range Bandara met the media at Sirikotha on Friday afternoon. According to one source, he was to receive many millions for the damage caused to his properties. Although the owner was his wife, he had demanded payment to be made to him. With Ranil not mediating in his favour, Range had been at odds with him. A few days ago, he was at the party headquarters hinting of resigning. Ranil had already decided to remove him after having received complaints against him, said another source. Yet another source said he had already struck a deal with Lucky to join the SJB. After hearing that Ranil is going to sign the letter to sack him, he called UMP campaign manager Ronald and said he would send in his resignation instead. Sirikotha people still await that letter to arrive. Ranil referred to Range at a recent meeting. Dolawata raised it by referring to media reports that Thalitha is going to be made the UMP General Secretary. Deputy Leader Ruan said with a smile that her late brother being a successful General Secretary, there is a request to appoint her, while some still in the SJB are interested in it too. Ranil shook his head, but said nothing. Yesterday, Thalitha issued a statement saying she does not need positions or privileges, but wants to save the country from yet another inexperienced Gotabaya. She repeated what she had stressed in Parliament in her resignation speech, that the country should not experience once again what it had undergone under Rajapaksa. Athukorala said that she doesn't have a personal grudge with Sajith, but that his political vision and strategy at the polls convinced her of the perilous truth with regard to him. Some question if she took a jab at Kabir, Harsha and Iran when she said that many fake ignorance about it for personal gains. Critics say the three-horse race will now have Sajith dropped out to make it a contest between Ranil and AKD. But opinion polls still predict it to be a tight race between Sajith and AKD. Anyway, the final decision lies with the people. That decision decides the fate of 22 million people. That's it for today.
The Leader දේශයට මග කියන ප්‍රවෘත්ති පෙළ ගැස්ම